Imagine a world where the very foundation of your national identity has been forgotten, buried under centuries of dust and the heavy weight of silence. In the year 622 BCE, a young king in Jerusalem gave an order to repair a crumbling temple, never suspecting that a routine renovation would unearth a document so powerful it would rewrite the DNA of his people forever. This was the moment King Josiah discovered a lost scroll of the law, an event that would spark a violent, beautiful, and radical cultural revolution. For decades, the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem had fallen into a state of neglect. It wasn't just the peeling plaster or the cracked limestone. The spiritual heart of Judah had become cluttered with the symbols of foreign gods. Altars to Baal and Asherah stood alongside the sacred space, and the original instructions for how to live as a people of the covenant had vanished. Josiah, who had ascended the throne as a mere boy of 8, was now a young man in his mid-20s. He was a king seeking a connection to a God he barely knew, ruling a people who had traded their heritage for the glittering idols of their neighbors. As the high priest Hilkiah oversaw the laborers clearing away the debris and counting the silver collected for the repairs, he reached into a darkened corner of the temple treasury. His fingers brushed against something unexpected, not a coin, not a vessel, but a scroll. When he opened it and began to read, the air in the temple seemed to grow heavy. He rushed to the king's scribe, Shaphan, with a startling claim, "I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord." When Shaphan read the words of that scroll to King Josiah, the reaction was instantaneous and visceral. The king didn't just listen, he mourned. He tore his royal robes in a fit of grief and terror. The words in that manuscript described a way of life that Judah had utterly abandoned, and they carried a warning of a coming darkness if the nation did not return to its roots. This wasn't just a book, it was a mirror reflecting a broken society. This discovery is what historians and theologians often refer to as the Deuteronomic Reform. It was a treasure hunt that ended not with gold, but with the terrifying weight of truth. Armed with the words of this rediscovered scroll, Josiah did not wait for a consensus. He launched a systematic, scorched earth purge of every rival deity in the land. Imagine the sight: the king himself standing in the temple courts, watching as his soldiers dragged out the ritual vessels dedicated to the sun, the moon, and the stars. These weren't just decorative items. They were the pillars of the status quo. Josiah ordered them burned in the fields of the Kidron Valley, their ashes carried away like the remains of a defeated enemy. The purge moved like a wildfire through the streets of Jerusalem and out into the Judean countryside. High places, the ancient hilltop shrines where local priests offered sacrifices, were defiled and torn down. The sacred poles of Asherah were hacked to pieces and ground into powder. It was a poetic, violent reclaiming of the landscape. Josiah was attempting to erase the memory of decades of religious compromise. He even pushed north into the ruins of the former northern kingdom of Israel, smashing the altar at Bethel, fulfilling a prophecy spoken centuries before he was born. But was this just a literary tale written by later scribes to glorify a favorite king, or did it actually happen? For the answer, we have to look beneath the soil of the city of David. Archaeologists digging through the layers of the late 7th century BCE have uncovered startling evidence that aligns perfectly with Josiah's revolution. In various domestic and public buildings, excavators have found cult stands, small ceramic structures used for burning incense to household gods. In many cases, these stands were not simply discarded. They were found smashed into tiny fragments, often covered by a layer of debris that suggests a deliberate, state-sponsored destruction. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes in the form of the Judean pillar figurines. These are small terracotta statues, usually depicting a goddess, that were ubiquitous in Judean homes for generations. They were the modern idols of their time, common, accepted, and found in nearly every dig site. However, in the strata associated with Josiah's reign, we see a dramatic shift. Thousands of these figurines have been found with their heads snapped off. It wasn't a natural break from the weight of the earth. The clean fractures suggest they were intentionally decapitated and thrown into the trash. This brings us to a compelling question for our own time. Josiah looked at stone pillars and wooden poles and saw things that had taken the place of the divine. If we were to look at our own lives through the lens of Josiah's scroll, what would our modern idols look like? What are the things we have allowed to clutter our own inner temples, distracting us from the things that truly matter? Despite the spiritual fire Josiah ignited, the political world around him was growing cold and dangerous. The great empire of Assyria was collapsing, and the vacuum of power was being contested by the rising Babylonians and the ancient might of Egypt. In 609 BCE, Pharaoh Necho II led a massive Egyptian army northward along the Mediterranean coast. He wasn't interested in Judah. He was marching to the Euphrates to assist the remnants of the Assyrian army. But Josiah, perhaps emboldened by his reforms and believing that God was now firmly on his side, decided to intervene. He led the Judean army to the strategic pass of Megiddo, a site so synonymous with conflict that its name, Megiddo, gives us the word Armageddon. It was a fateful decision. Josiah ignored the Pharaoh's warnings to stay out of the way. In the heat of the confrontation, an Egyptian archer found a gap in the king's armor. The king, who had rediscovered the law and cleansed the land, was mortally wounded. His servants rushed his bleeding body back to Jerusalem in a chariot, but he did not survive the journey. With his death, the golden age of Judah's restoration came to an abrupt, tragic halt. The mourning in Jerusalem was unparalleled. The prophet Jeremiah composed laments for the fallen king, and the people realized that the shield Josiah had provided, both spiritual and military, was gone. Josiah's reign was a flash of brilliant light before the encroaching shadows. He proved that a single discovery, a single book, could change the trajectory of a nation. He left behind a legacy of literacy and a centralized focus on the written word that would eventually allow the Jewish people to survive even when their temple was gone and their land was lost. But as Josiah was buried in the tombs of his fathers, the gears of empire continued to turn. The Egyptian victory at Megiddo was short-lived, and a much darker threat was rising in the east. The brief window of independence was closing, and the kings who followed Josiah would not share his heart or his vision. The story of the kings of Judah is a story of iron and ink, of the strength of the sword and the enduring power of the written word. We have seen how a lost scroll could spark a revolution, but soon we will see how that same nation faced its greatest test. In our next episode, we look back to a different kind of survival. We will witness the high-stakes coronation of the boy King Joash, hidden away in the temple chambers while a murderous queen sought his life. We'll explore the black obelisk of Shalmaneser and the staggering price of peace as Judah attempted to buy its survival with the very gold stripped from the temple doors. The shadow of the great king of Assyria is looming, and the heavy tally of tribute is about to be called. Join us next time on Ink and Iron.